guys, and welcome to a super exciting video. The three of us, that's right, three, Taylor will be participating as well, bibliomancers unite and all of that, will be participating in the Booktubeathon this year. So, the very first video that comes with the Booktubeathon, obviously the TBR. We've all picked books that we plan to read this week, and we all are pretty sure that we will not read all of our books. But we're gonna try. So, on with it. The first challenge is to read a book with yellow on the cover. For this, I picked The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey. I am also going to be double dipping with this one, which you'll see in a moment. But, zombie apocalypse book, question mark, post-apocalypse book, question mark, Matilda with zombies, that's what has been said to me. Yes.
Alright, so I'm going to rely on Michaela and Gretchen's preambles because I don't really know what to say. I'm joining in on this book thing, as I do with all of our things. Yeah! First book, with yellow. I'm at Michaela's house, and I didn't know about this in advance, so I'm kind of working off her library. So for my first book, I will be reading Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which I never read, and it's also the movie adaptation, right? Mm-hmm.
It is.
Except I have a secret book I can't reveal now later in the pile that's also the movie adaptation. Book.
Hey y'all, I might not be in the Bibliomansion yet, but I can still put together a TBR to be in this video, even though I'm alone, in my room, alone. So Michaela and Taylor might be mixing challenges, but I'm not. And you know why? Because I've been in a reading slump, and the more choices I give myself, the more chance there is of me actually reading any of these. To be fair, this TBR is something I do not actually think that I am going to complete. I'm realistic. I don't think it's going to happen. But here we are. So for challenge number 1, which is a book with yellow on the cover, I want to read Assassin's Heart by Saren Ayers. Ayers? How do you say her last name? I don't know. This might look like slightly cheating because depending on what light I put this in, this either looks orange or gold. But I'm going for the lighting in which it looks gold because I got this book when Taylor and I were in Ohio, and I want to read it. So this is what I'm calling for that one.
The second challenge is to read a book only after sunset, and for that I'm going to choose Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. I picked this one for my Pop Sugar reading challenge actually because the actual book itself is under 100 pages. This edition has a foreword and an afterword that I plan to read, but I think that I could do this in one shot, and this actually might be the first one that I read. Also, look at this edition. Look at that cover. Isn't it great? I love it.
So, second book that I will only read after dark. Fitting with all of ours, I chose something very topical, and it is the Welcome to Night Vale novel that I got in Columbus. And it says night in the title, so after dark.
I really want to finally read my copy of The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, which I think is a very apt book to only read after sunset. This book made the rounds forever ago, and I was like, yes, I want to read it. And then I never did, and I have the hardcover and everything. I bought it used, but I just haven't read it. So, I mean, already you can tell why I don't plan on completing this challenge, because reading all of these in a week, well, I mean, it's possible for me. I read very fast, but, you know, feelings and things. But anyways, this is my book for that one.
The third challenge is to read a book that was recommended to you by Booktube. And, hey look, it's The Girl with All the Gifts again for me. I recently watched Sophie Carlin's review of this and was pleasantly surprised that she loved it. And that girl is frickin' smart. Plus, she's secretly a ginger because she dyed her hair black, and so I picked it up from my library, but I did get it, and obviously it's got both yellow, and it is a book recommended to me by Booktube, so that one.
So I have chosen the volume 1 of Tokyo Ghost, which I learned about from Michaela, who is a Booktube So, I look forward to that.
I have to admit to saying that I don't remember where I heard about this book. I don't remember the challenge, I don't remember the video, but I remember thinking The Winter's Curse by Marie Rutkowski is something that I should read. And I thought this so strongly that when I found the paperback, I was searching for something else, and I actually bought it. Just because I was thinking, this sounds like something I would like to read. And I had heard it, I think, from multiple places, which is why I was so convinced. I don't remember where. I don't remember why. I'm very terrible like that. But this is my book for that, because this is one of the books, besides Rebel of the Sands, which I reviewed last week, that I know I bought because of something I heard on Booktube multiple times.
The fourth challenge is perhaps the hardest for me, and that is to read a book by one of your favorite authors. That isn't to say that I don't want to read this book, but that the book I want to read is like 800 pages. And we're supposed to read like a book a day. This is The Fireman by Joe Hill, which anybody who actually follows our channel knows that I have had since the day it was released and have yet to read. Let's do this.
Next is a book
By your favorite author.
by my favorite author. Thanks, offstage person. And that you can see right here. This is The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss, courtesy of audible.com, who can sponsor us. We would love it.
We're not sponsored.
We're not sponsored. I'm saying they can sponsor us.
And obviously, when I saw that, I was like, well, time to reread another Sarah J. Maas book, because, like, guys, we all know who my favorite author is. However, I've been in a kind of history phase again. I do this sometimes where I just want to read a lot of historical fiction. And needless to say, I was looking at this bookshelf and I went, oh my god, you know what I really want to read again? It's The Heretic Queen by Michelle Moran. Michelle Moran wrote also Nefertiti, and if you can't guess, this is a Egyptian historical fiction, and if I don't get to Assassin Heart, I'm also going to count this as my book with yellow in the cover, because hello. But this is about Nefertari, the wife of Ramses the Great, and it's probably my favorite Egyptian historical fiction that Michelle has written. She's also done, like I said, Nefertiti and Cleopatra's Daughter. And I really love Egyptian historical fiction, and in my opinion, there isn't enough of it. And so I own, like, every single one that Michelle has written, because they're amazing and they're great, and I can't find anything else that I like this much. So, I mean, if you know any Egyptian historical fiction, hit me up on the bottom, because I would love to actually read something else, too.
The fifth challenge is to read a book that is older than you. For that, I picked the most popular book the year I was born, which is Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Berendt. It's non-fiction, but apparently it's really great. My boss loved it, so I'm going to give it a try. I have no idea what this is about, but if it was a #1 national bestseller and the most popular book of the year, there's got to be at least something valid in here, I would hope.
I chose The Man in the High Castle by Philip K. Dick, because I really enjoyed some of his other books, and heard great things about the TV adaptation of this, so I'm curious to see how it goes.
This is the portion of the video where I don't have any more books, because everything else that I plan to read is an ebook, so I'm going to apologize to whoever has to edit this in post, because I think it's going to be Michaela. Anyways, the next challenge is a book that's older than you, and I have been saying for this entire year that this is the year that I read Pride and Prejudice, and it's been on my Pop Sugar challenge, and now I want to put it on the Booktubeathon challenge, because even if I don't finish it, maybe I'll actually start it, because I have the e-copy, I have it ready to go, but as I was saying in my last weeks from the notebook, I really haven't wanted to read things that make me feel like I'm back in school, but Pride and Prejudice is one of my best friend's favorite books, and I just feel like I need to actually finally read this one. So, fingers crossed. I'm not sure again that I'm actually going to get through it, but like I said, if I just get it started, then maybe I will actually finish it.
The next challenge is to read a book and then immediately watch the movie. For that, I'm going to read Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson. I've had this forever. It's a modern classic. It's really short, so hopefully I can bang it out this week. Plus, Taylor and I will both be reading it, obviously, because you saw it earlier when Taylor was speaking. So Taylor and I will both be watching this movie and reading this book, so we'll probably do a joint review of it once we've finished that. But, yeah.
So I have Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk. I liked the movie, but as I understand it, Chuck Palahniuk is a terrible person. Also from his social media presence. So I'm reading this to be grumpy about manly men and how women ruin everything.
I have really wanted to read Taliban Shuffle this whole entire year, and if that name doesn't sound familiar to you, it's because the movie version of it is called Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and it stars Tina Fey, and it's a political memoir kind of a thing about a woman who was a reporter, and by the name Taliban Shuffle, you can guess where she was. And I've wanted to read that this whole year. It's actually on my Pop Sugar Challenge as well. And so when I saw the book to movie adaptation challenge, I immediately assigned this book to it because I almost caved the other day and watched the movie before I read the book. And that's not going to work, guys. You read the book, then you watch the movie. It's how it goes, unless it's Lord of the Rings. Then you have my full permission to watch the movies first and maybe never read the books. Okay.
The last challenge, which is always the challenge of the Booktubeathon, is to read 7 books. If you note, because I double dipped with one of those picks, I only have 5 books that I've told you about, but I do have 2 books that I need to read this week, regardless of the Booktubeathon. The first is The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman. Hint, hint, we all have to read this week, so we will be doing a live stream of it this week. That's how, you know, book club works. So you've seen this several times over now. The other one is this pretty plain blue book because the jacket isn't on it because I borrowed it from work, and that's The Girls by Emma Cline. I started it, I liked it, I just need to finish it. So it's a pretty quick-paced read, I think, and I can definitely finish this. Plus I have to give it back to work on Wednesday, so it needs to get done early in the week. And that's it.
Finally, my mysterious 7th book, which comes at a total surprise to everyone. I'm going to be reading The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman. Yes. It was a whim. I have no real reason to do it. It's just also happening to be our next book club book. So read it as well. You should, and check that out.
So that right there is 6 books. So these 4, and then Pride and Prejudice and Taliban Shuffle. As you can tell, I mean, I didn't pick this TBR list because I thought I'd actually have a chance of completing it. I just picked it because I'm insane. And if you're wondering, so the end of Booktubeathon is you're just supposed to read 7 books, and I have mentioned 6 to you. And in case you're curious what I want that 7th book to be, it's going to be The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman. Bibliomancy for Beginners Nostalgia Junkies series is going to be doing our episode on that next week. If you're watching this video, our episode on Middlesex should be appearing on Tuesday. And so I know I need to read that book, but I didn't want to count it as a challenge because it felt too much like double dipping. So it might end up being like the book I read after sunset if I can't get through other things. But I definitely do have to read that book this week, so it makes a perfect 7th book for the Booktube challenge. So it's going to be great, and I'm going to die. But I will love the challenge. So here I go.